How good's that? Wow. What guitar's that, Nigel?
This is a beautiful guitar. This is handmade in Australia by a company called Maiden, and they're one of the world's best kept secrets. I went to Sydney and I bought it there. I went there that occasion specifically. They're high end, and they're really, rather like their name, they're like a halfway between a Gibson and a Martin. And I use it for recording, writing. It's absolutely to die for.
Fantastic! Wow, what a sound! What a sound!
Yeah.
What do you prefer? Good. What do you prefer to play? Do you prefer the acoustic or the Strat or others? I know you got loads.
I've got loads of guitars. It's funny because I fall in love with different guitars all the time, and then really into that one. But the default setting is my Les Paul. I always come back to it.
And what colours? What colours that? Mate?
Well, I've got two. I've got a beautiful cherry sunburst, 1989 custom. I've got two Les Paul customs, and I got a 1979 custom that I bought brand new in New York in 1979, and It's been round and round the world. I used it for the members, for the hot rods, for everything.
Wow. It's to get that first quality guitar is something special, isn't it?
Yeah, that was really. I mean, I had a beautiful Gibson SG beforehand, but I outgrew it. Are you doing the interview now?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually. We're having a good.
That's why I was asking you. But the SG I had, I used it when I joined the members, and I used it all over the first album at a Chelsea nightclub, and I used it for playing gigs and things. And then early on in the members' career, the bass player suddenly went mad and had to be committed to the Priory after taking an overdose of mushrooms. And we were flown back down from Leeds to London to rehearse in a temporary bass player. We were on tour with Sound of the Suburbs in the charts at the time.
Wow.
And because our gear because our gear didn't go with us, we were hired gear. And I said a Gibson SG, and there wasn't one. There was a Les Paul there, and I picked it up and played it, and I just thought, oh my God, I've arrived. And I then bought one, and I mean, they're the best touring guitar because they have such a full sound for live work. You just can't beat them. And in fact, I loved it so much, and the only thing I ever missed was not having a tremolo on it. And so I fitted one to my first Les Paul, and it was just divine. I've still got it. It's beautiful, Black Beauty.
And you put the tremolo on yourself?
No, I got a professional luthier. I'm not going to fuck around with a multi-thousand-pound guitar that I'm in love with.
I was thinking that. Yeah,
that's how society works. Some people are good at different things, and I certainly wouldn't get a drill out to do that.
No.
So someone did it. I was watching nervously in case, because you read all these things like if you do that, it'll affect its sound and all that. But it didn't at all. It was just a beautiful Les Paul with a tremolo. It might affect its resale value, but that's not why I have it. I'd never get rid of it anyway. It does, to me, it's irrelevant.
Yeah. The opening riff to Suburbs, is that something that you come up with? Wow.
JC came up with that.
Did he?
He wrote most of the music for that song, and they'd had it written. I was the last to join the members, and that was their song. And I joined them, and then things pretty quickly started taking off. And we recorded it with Steve Lillywhite, and it did very well.
Oh, God, yeah. I've got it. I was looking at one of my singles yesterday because I was interviewing Peter Digsy Deary from Cook the Books and The Sums, Smaller, etc. And I was going through my singles to pick out his first single, and Piggy in the Middle Eight, and I saw Sound of the Suburbs, Picture Bag, and I thought, wow, what a fantastic record. When you were recording it, did you all know this is something special? This is going to last forever. This is going to go around the world.
Not at all, and I'll tell you why. It was our first proper recording, and everything was so exciting. We were, it just all happened at once. You grovel around for a while. Like I say, I was the last to join, and I was lucky because were quickly building up a great following live. We were playing all the time. And of course, in 77 or 8, whatever it was, there were so many London venues every night of the week, and we were playing all the time. And it went down really well live, and you record it and do your best. And then suddenly it started shooting up the charts. So at that point, you realise that that's a good single. But I've always known that pop music is transitory. And some last for nostalgic reasons, or, it's a good record, I'm sure of that. And
no doubt,
it says a lot, because so many people didn't live in the inner city, but in the suburbs. And when I joined the band and heard the lyrics to that, I just thought, amazing, spot on.
Got it, yeah. It's amazing that, the first time I heard it, I bought it, it just resonated with me. But as the band themselves didn't think it was a hit, that's amazing, really.
Well, maybe we did. I mean, it's hard to look back. I mean, so much happened in that time.
And fast.
We went from being ordinary guys, some of them had jobs still, day jobs. I think I did when I joined. I drove a van. And then suddenly we became professional musicians. We were on tour. We were put on tour with Devo. Steve Lillywhite produced our first album. His brother, Adrian, was our drummer. And so it was a small world. And and then things sort of took off. So it was a massive learning curve. I didn't know anything about the longevity of what goes on. And punk was a sort of refreshing statement, as you well know, against the dinosaur bands around at the time. It gave kids a chance to play in clubs again.
Absolutely. And you didn't have to be a virtuoso guitarist like Steve Howe. Poor fella died the other month, didn't he?
Absolutely right. And it's funny, because I remember learning Steve Howe's, what was it, the clap? How did it go? I can't remember it all, but when I was a kid, I would listen to every guitarist out there.
Brilliant.
And learn everything by ear to try and make myself a better guitar player. To me, I was just focused always on playing the guitar. And I was an angry young man, but punk was the vehicle in the late 70s that got you ahead. So I went to every audition going in Melody Maker. I auditioned from such diverse bands as... I auditioned for the Sex Pistols. I also auditioned for Iron Maiden.
Kidding me? Wow. Well, that's diverse, isn't it?
I know, and everything that was around. And then the members auditioned me and said, right, you're in. Our first gig's 2 days later. Learn the entire set. And by the way, the first song, You Start. And that was at the Moonlight Club in West Hampstead. Yeah. And I had a lot to learn in 2 days with a really rough cassette player to try and learn all the songs. And then that was brilliant, when we had the time of our lives. It was full on.
Oh, God, yeah. What auditions in those days, what did you have to do? Did you have to, to go audition for the Sex Pistols? What was that like? What was that entail? Do you remember?
They were all different. I'll never forget the Sex Pistols. It was in a dingy basement in Soho, and I went along one afternoon. A couple of people were lying there drunk. Quite who they were, I don't know. Steve Jones, I think, was there making a very loud noise on the guitar. And it was totally unorganised. And I walked in, I just thought, these guys don't know what the fuck's happening. The guy playing the guitar never stopped. I think it was Steve Jones. And I realised that wasn't going to happen. I got a feel for auditions because I did quite a few. Iron Maiden, I went along to in Leytonstone. I think that was where they were all from. And Dave Murray was there playing, and they wanted another guitar player. And I realised that was, again, I was very different to them. They were very East End working class lads, and they were playing then a sort of heavy metal that I was never particularly into, and I just knew it didn't fit immediately. They were terribly nice and polite about it all, but you go and you see. Now, one of them, there was a strange German woman, I forget her name. It'll come back to me. She was popular, and she auditioned for a guitarist, and I went along, and her and 2 other members of the band sat on a chair while I stood on a box in the middle of the room, and they wanted to watch me play the guitar on my own. And I was doing this, and I just thought, what the fuck kind of audition is this? And, so they really varied from playing with bands to that sort of thing.
They're odd, the Germans, aren't they?
Nina Hagen. I think Nina Hagen was
the name. Yeah. I remember the name, and I'm trying to think what band she was associated with. But yeah, I remember the band. I remember her name anyway. So, God, amazing. Yeah, it's like any interview that you go to, you get a feel, don't you? I want to work with this company. I want to work with this band. I fit in. I like the music. You've got to love it, haven't you? You've got to have a passion.
And I think everyone sort of knows. And if you're even if they're not sure, because they have to discuss it amongst themselves when you're out the room. When I went to the members, it was obvious we were all the similar people, and it just clicked. And then I left, and they said they'd let me know. I think it was a Friday night. I got a call Saturday morning saying you're in the band, first gig's on Monday. We'll get you a tape and off you go. And that was that. And it was that simple, and it was good. And, I tell you what I loved about it was Adrian Lillywhite's drumming. I firmly believe that if a band doesn't have a good drummer, forget it. It is the foundation stone of any band is the drumming. It doesn't matter how brilliant everything else is.
Yeah, absolutely.
The drummer holds it together in a solid way and gives cues and does what you'd expect. And Adrian was that man.
I didn't realise he obviously was Steve's brother. But and Steve actually is interesting because Steve Lillywhite's signature sound, or what it became known from early doors, was his drum sound, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, I think that was coincidence. It wasn't because his brother was a drummer. It just became what people noted in Steve's early work. And you're quite right. He was renowned for his drum sound, but he was he's my best friend to this day.
Oh, you're kidding me?
Man. We became instant mates, and we've been close friends for over 35 years.
Wow, fantastic! Is he still working? Is he still producing?
Very much so. He's actually in Jakarta, Indonesia at the moment, doing some Indonesian bands. He moved from LA to there because there's lots going on there, and there's a thriving music scene. People go to gigs and buy records.
Wow, yeah, those are the days.
Yes, well, they are still the days at the moment in the Far East. So
yeah,
he's
Japan,
gone there because he loves to record music. It's what he does best.
Fantastic, yeah. And working with him on the first album, what was that like? Were you overawed, or were you just go with the flow and enjoyed it?
Not overawed at all. He was one of us. I mean, I was there. It was crazy times. There was a lot going on. I took a lot of drink and drugs in those days, so it was just crazy. And we'd stay up all night, and we recorded a lot of it in Wembley at Delaney Studios, I remember. And it was a hell of a lot of fun. And I remember standing in rooms with huge Marshall stacks. Did it very old school, and whacked out. And I love it because being a lead guitar player, I get to overdub all my guitar stuff afterwards. But Steve learnt very early on with me, and it's true to this day. Even if he said he was just running it down, he'd always record, because I tend to do most things one-off and live, and the more takes I do, I get worse, not better.
Yeah,
and the spontaneous things I do without thinking about it, unless it's a very intricate, special part where the notes matter.
Yeah.
If I'm doing guitar solos and things, I do one-offs nearly all still to this day.
Brilliant.
And Steve realised that about me and taught me to tell whoever's recording me to always record from the very beginning.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's and what an ability to get it right off the right riff or whatever at the right time.
It's inspirational. That's what it's all about. And in other words, that's what you do live. You don't have time to think.
Yeah.
Guitar solo time, you play what you do. The other thing the members taught me, it's interesting you should mention Steve Howe and all that, because it was the antithesis of that in the sense that you normally got 4 or 8 bars to do a solo, and each time that's like an audition. You do your very best in a short space of time. None of this 10-minute whittling on. I mean, I hate that. It's just, awful.
Yeah.
And so within a short space, you do your best. And I've learned that to this day, to always try that. I believe them to be short and sweet.
Yeah.
And so on.
I think that stands you in good stead. Yeah. The twiddly bits, we've all seen the 20-minute drum solos and guitar solos in the mid-70s. I saw them all in Liverpool. But that's what punk blew away, wasn't it?
Not only that, when you see guitarists doing sort of like these little... It only really appeals to guitarists. They think that the common man appreciates that. He doesn't know if it's difficult or hard. And also, often, you do those little tricks and they have no emotion. They're soulless. And they just do it to show you, oh, look how clever I am. Bollocks, you can all do that shit, but I've never been an advocate of that. Again, it's the few notes that you play that would cut across hard. So the average person doesn't appreciate heroics, if that's the right word, on the guitar. They appreciate hearing the right notes.
That's right, and short, sharp, melodic riffs. That's what sticks in the mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, talking about the era before, you know, people think punk was a complete revolution. It's not. All music's evolution. People like Pete Townsend were very important to me as a kid. I mean, he invented the power chord that everyone from the Sex Pistols onwards used. Townsend was fucking amazing. And if you ever saw The Who play, you couldn't take your eyes off him. He was an incredibly energetic, powerful guitarist. And he didn't whittle around doing much lead because he just played, you know, just fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
And so I learned off all those old greats.
He's still doing it, isn't he? I know that there's been some criticism of the performance recently. They think they did Hyde Park and then they did Glastonbury. They're a bit tired of Glastonbury. Why wouldn't you be? But still, him was mesmerising. What a performance!
I was lucky enough to see The Who play with Keith Moon, and when you were watching, your eyes didn't know whether to be on Pete or Keith. It was those two. It wasn't the lead singer, Rod Daltrey. Keith Moon was just the most incredible drummer, and Pete Townsend, his whole body moved with the guitar like really no one else, maybe apart from Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, fantastic. So
and the other guitarist I really like, by the way, I know you didn't ask me this, but you're making me think. Very underrated almost, is Angus Young. There's a thin line between that sort of heavy metal and punk. It's all the same power chords. Yeah. It's just the vocal delivery is different.
What I like about that, and I always go back through, I've got all their albums on the iPod, and when I travel, I listen from day one. I prefer the early stuff with Bon Scott. What sad was that, you know? What a voice, you know. What a voice, and what a waste, what a big shame. But what I liked about it was that simplicity. It was the songs were simple, and so very easy to remember.
Yes, and not only that, kids that love them had a chance of working it out in their bedroom. Yeah. If something's too intricate, you lose people. But I mean, Angus Young and Malcolm Young just came up with riff after riff that was fucking amazing. Yeah, and so heavily and cleanly played and beautiful.
It writes itself, the song, doesn't it? You come up with a great riff.
It's almost like you think you've heard it before when you hear it for the first time because it fits just beautifully. It's art. It's craft.
It begets the lyrics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the riff and everything. It almost comes up with the title. It's an amazing process. So you write yourself?
Oh yeah.
In
fact, I wouldn't say I was prolific, but I'm part of a band which we're just starting with Steve Nicol and Barry Masters called Class of 76.
Eddie and Hot Rod's brilliant.
Yes, and but we're going out to celebrate 40 years of punk at the end of this year and next year, and we needed a single. Someone's putting it out in America, so I had a riff and a chorus, and I got together with Knox, who's a dear friend of mine, the lead singer of the Vibrators.
Oh, nice, yeah. I saw his picture. I saw your picture with him the other day, but I didn't appreciate. I knew the name, but again, I couldn't associate it. So the Vibrators.
It's wonderful. He's a fantastic songwriter, and we're dear friends, and I've written with him a lot. So I immediately called him in because we needed it quickly, and I really like his lyric writing. And so we put a single together. We've done the demos, and we're finishing it off next week to be sent to America. Wow. So our debut single called Emma.
Yeah, I saw that. And what's Emma about, do you know?
It's about a girl that would cause you problems, make you pull your hair out. But I mean, you know, I don't many of them.
That's right, yeah.
That's what it's about. It's about a little punky girl that would make a grown man cry almost, you know?
I like that. I like it. So that's going to be released later on this year for the American...
I believe, in America to start with, because we're going to go there. Maybe it's earlier than November. I believe it's beginning of November release is the idea.
Fantastic. It's self-released?
Vinyl.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Vinyl, and I imagine download and everything. I know it sounds silly, but I don't know enough about everything else. I've never been that interested in the mechanics of anything. My job is to play the guitar, very old school, and I know that other people are taking care of that. But we're trying to come up with our own song quickly, and I did.
You can't do everything, can you? No. It's all about who's best for doing what. If you're a jack of all trades, you're master of none.
Absolutely. There's one thing passionate about ever since I was a little boy, and it's never gone. I love to play the guitar, and that's always just made me laugh when people ask me, if you've got any hobbies. I say, oh yeah, I make little boats and put them in bottles. No, I don't. I play the bloody guitar. I've done it every day all my life, and I would do it anyway. I'm lucky enough that it's my job.
Yeah, fantastic.
All I like doing. I'm very nerdy that way. I'm a guitar nerd.
And I see all those pictures on your wall of all your guitars, and I'm thinking it's guitar porn for most of us.
Oh, it is, and that's only some of them. I'm sitting here. There's lots in this room, but and in fact, at night time, I sit looking at the computer, not of people fucking. I read about pickups. And nets and pedals. I'm always reading all the month on the latest gizmo. Doesn't mean I go and buy them all because I'm wiser.
You're just interested.
But I like to see what's going on, and then if something's really good, universally raved about, I'll go and check it out.
The technology with guitars and effects and all that, and computers and recording, it's just phenomenal, isn't it?
It is. However, I don't want it ever to be too technical. I don't want to never have more effects than you very basically need, because anything in the chain is something to go wrong. You can't be a humbucker through a Marshall. For all, that doesn't mean if you're Gary Moore or bloody Steve Jones, you just get a fantastic sound. And I've been exploring Stratocasters and Telecasters a bit more in my later years, because I've always thought, there's hundreds of different guitars out there, but basically, if you've got a Strat, a Tele, and a Les Paul, you've got all the sound ranges covered. Everything else is a sort of hybrid of those. And so, particularly for recording, so that every track doesn't sound the same, you experiment with different guitars, and I'll go through phases, and I'll play my Strat live for a while, and then I just think, I really want my Les Paul, and I play that because it's default setting, and I love it.
Fantastic, yeah. And was it spit proof back in the late 70s?
If anyone spat at me, I would often hit them over the head with my guitar.
It's dreadful, wasn't it?
I mean, the idea of spitting in punk is the one thing. The whole movement was great, but we all know it's the ultimate insult since biblical times to spit in someone's face. You're insulting them.
Yeah.
So where that came from, and people pretended it was all right. I remember talking to Iggy Pop and him telling me it was disgusting. And people like Malcolm from the Ruts and I loved it because John Jack Burnell in the Stranglers, he used to get everyone all afternoon in the dressing room, road crew, the band. If they needed a piss, they did it in a bucket. He'd keep it on stage, and if he saw someone gob at him, he'd throw a bucket of piss over them. Because I'm sorry, that's the only thing which is disgusting. Anyone thinks that's fashionable. They know they're just trying to get away with it. And I would not put up with me trying after years of trying to learn the guitar for someone to spit at me. It just makes me see red.
Well, I saw you. I saw you at the Liverpool University with the Hot Rods.
In
77, Squeeze first performance or first tour, and they had Take Me I'm Yours, and they had to play it all. They had synths on the record, but they had guitars because they couldn't afford the synths, or they hadn't mastered them, Yeah. And it, honestly, I was right at the front because I was number one Hot Rods fan as far as I was concerned. I was right at the front, and it was a snowstorm. It was disgusting. And my jacket, my mum embroidered Eddie and the Hot Rods on the back of the jacket, and I've now just had to cut out the embroidery and put it in a frame because the rest just rotted. It was just disgusting,
Yeah, but I think Malcolm got meningitis. It carries germs. Anyone's even got a cold, let alone anything else. I'm sorry, that's the only thing about punk that I thought was totally wrong and disgusting.
Yeah. Well, Joe Strummer got hepatitis, didn't he?
That's right.
It landed in his mouth,
it's just... it makes me ill just to think about it.
Okay.
Although now there's a resurgence and people like punk a lot, I never see any spitting, and people realise they deserve to be hit over there with a fucking guitar if they do that.
Absolutely. So you say there's been a resurgence. I'm a member of about 10 punk sites on Facebook alone, and there's such intensity and passion, and I'll hit you with a few questions then. So, is anyone that you like today, music-wise, that's out there, punk or otherwise?
I quite like Summer Green Day that I heard. I don't listen to... I used to get a lot off the TV and the radio. I used to love Whistle Test, even on Top of the Pops and stuff, but I'm not hearing it that way anymore.
No, you don't know.
No, because I don't think anyone's... Two things, and it maybe goes against the grain. It's not virtuosity, but I used to like the fact that people learnt to play their instruments. And even in the early days of punk, people could barely make a noise. As punk progressed, people got better. I mean, Mick Jones wasn't very good on the guitar in The Clash, and he learnt to play it as the band got better.
Yeah.
And it's almost like music is incidental these days, apart from one or two. Like I see Muse on the telly. He plays guitar well.
Yeah, he does.
But for me, it's very hard because I now know to appreciate good songs very much, but people ask me what I listen to, and I listen to anything with what I consider good and interesting guitar in it, and records that don't have the guitar, it doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah.
And there's not any guitarists really doing anything that hasn't been done before.
No.
And so I would be more interested in the bands from yesteryear, and I know that means I sound old, and because I am old, but that's the circle of life, you know?
Well, I think it is, and I'm at that stage myself where I used to buy an album a month, and now I go on to Spotify to see the new releases each week. I listen to them all while I'm working, and I'm thinking, tosh, I get through one song or half a song, but next one. That's
right.
I'm buying local music, Liverpool bands, because it excites me. It takes me back to when I was buying vinyl the first time round. It's coming from the streets. It's fresh. It's angry, whatever, you know. But the stuff it's all anodyne. The stuff that's
released,
it's
antiseptic. It's overproduced.
Yeah, overproduced. Yeah.
You don't want overproduction for the sake of it. You don't. And
do you have a, you know, when you write, or you wrote with Knox, do you have a little home recording studio, or you just...
Yeah, I've got a digital 8-track here.
Wow.
And I'm very old school. Ideas I put down very roughly, enough just to convey to who else is playing, and then I like to go into a studio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do it properly. Yeah. I just like the atmosphere, the going there. It gives it a purpose. I don't want to do it all in my bedroom. I'm not good enough. I'm not good with computers and all that.
Well, what you end up is, I've been into computer recording at home since '93, the start of Cubase, and you actually end up doing more technical issues than writing. So you're absolutely right. Just put it down on a sketch pad. Take it to a proper studio. Let them take the technical issues. Let them sort it out. You just do what you want to do. That sounds familiar. But the band were involved in a Channel 5 interview the other day, weren't they? Was it 35 years for Do Anything You Want to Do, or 40 years, or can't remember. I saw it. Graham Douglas and Simon Bowley was being interviewed on that.
Graham Drugless, he's now pronounced, yeah. I didn't see that, but I've always been a huge fan of the Rods ever since the members first went on tour. Lovely guys. To this day, I stand at the front smiling. I love it. And in fact, I think they're playing better than ever. Yeah. I think this new lineup is brilliant. Absolutely wonderful. Barry is a fantastic frontman. I'm telling you stuff you know.
Yeah, but it's great to hear, and it's amazing actually, because when we first met, I was laughing my head off because the first thing you do, you walk into the 229 on the 19th of June for the 40th anniversary show, and what did you do? You bent over, dropped your keks, and you gave them a smile.
That's right. I do that to them quite a bit when they're sound checking. Things like that to try and put them off.
It didn't
work.
Very
much lads, and we've always had a laugh. And to me, being one of the lads and being juvenile, it's almost what keeps you alive on the road. I don't know why, but without humour, it would be a very, very difficult job indeed. And it's humour that particularly British have for getting through adversity, because touring does not get any easier as you get older, and you've seen it all and done it all, and there's fun all around us if you look for it, and humour's a very big part of my life. And
well, that's good, yeah.
You forget every now and again you can meet the odd person that doesn't have a sense of humour. It's very odd. Most British people, that's how we communicate.
Absolutely, and if they can't have a laugh, then they're not part of our life, are they? You're what I noticed with you, Nigel, you're continually smiling. Always got a smiley face, you know. There you go. It's infectious, and it does help, you know. You see these memes
I'm lucky to be alive and still playing the guitar. And
absolutely.
It's a passion. I sit here at home and play a lot. In fact, I was just trying to write a new song just now, and I was thinking I must contact Barry. I'd like to write a song with him next.
Yeah, great.
And I'm very excited about this new band.
Great to speak to you, Nigel. Really great. I'll switch off the camera.
Really nice to meet you the other day. Yeah. And if you ever need any more, you have an afterthought, or you look at it and it's not right, we're in touch. Just send me a message.